Welcome back to Vintner Vanguard 2021. I am sitting here with David Green from Westwood Vineyards. David, welcome.
Thank you, Marcus.
I'm really excited to have him sitting here because just a moment ago, I passed Angelina Mondavi, and she was drinking one of your Pinots, and I don't know if it was this one, the founder.
Yeah, it was.
It was the founder. She said this is her favorite Pinot so far, and I can't wait. I haven't tried it yet, so I'm really excited to try it. But David, Westwood, years go by now. This is not necessarily a new brand anymore. This is an established Pinot wine brand. What do you tell people? What is Westwood?
So when I'm here, I kind of lift my chin and say we're just on the other side of the mountain, and so we're kind of disrupting a little bit of the Cabernet party here, being primarily Pinot producers. So we, at Westwood Estate, Annandale Gap Vineyard is our home ranch, and that's just on the other side of the Mayacamas. Sits in between Kenwood and Glen Ellen on the southwest facing side of the Mayacamas Mountains. And it's transverse, so fog every morning, wind every afternoon. And it was planted in the early 90s to 9 different clones of Pinot. And so wow. The Founders is the first vintage we've ever done of this, and it was the first vintage from start to finish, 2018, where Philippe Melk and Mayan Koshitsky have been involved as winemakers. And so it really was about trying to identify which of those clones could stand out amongst kind of the array and be incorporated as the very best expression of the site. And so this was 2018, 6 barrels.
Only 6 barrels.
So 150 cases.
Pinot Noir is a true favorite of mine. When I always tell the story because I drink the Kool-Aid. I'm a Cab drinker. I love Cabernet Sauvignon. But there was a time where for 10 years I drank nothing but Pinot Noir, and I felt like I blindly can taste where different regions were, from Willamette to Santa Rita Hills to Sonoma to Russian River Valley, all of it. So I'm always excited because it brings me back to so many memories. When you mentioned this vineyard, I've been asking everybody the soil of those vineyards. If I asked you if it was clay, granite, volcanic, limestone, what is that soil type at that vineyard?
So it's 2 different soil compositions actually come together and converge, and it's volcanic and limestone.
Volcanic and limestone, we have to write that down. So far, all three vineyards we talked about had a volcanic, so there's a trend going on.
Well, and it's when I first contacted Philippe and Mayan, this was in March of 2017, and I told him about the vineyard and what we were growing there, and they kind of looked at me like, you guys are out of your minds, Pinot and Syrah, Rhone varietals in Sonoma Valley. It was disbelief until I actually pulled out a bottle of the 2015 Westwood Estate Syrah. And as they were swirling in glass, they both said, this isn't where we think it is. And looking at the map, they really believed it to be warm. And so we got them over there and walked the vineyard, and this is early March of 2017. And walking down 4 vineyard rows, it was Carl Stanton, who's my partner and the founder, named after, the wine is named after, of Westwood. In one row, myself, Mayan, and Philippe, and as we start walking about 10 yards off the avenue, we couldn't see each other any longer. We were lost in the fog. And Philippe said, wow. I get it. I understand what this journey is going to be about, and it's really about unlocking the soul of this place. And it was no longer about throwing things up against the wall to see what was going to stick. It was about this purity and focus around trying to make the most expressive Pinot we possibly could from that site.
And you mentioned it was 150 cases. Is that all you can get from that vineyard?
No. So we've got 37 acres total, 23 acres planted under vine, about 11 and a half acres planted to Pinot. Unfortunately, because of the fires last year, we lost 5 acres of Pinot, and so it's a devastating loss. But our best blocks, fortunately, were saved, and we farmed biodynamically. Certified by Demeter Biodynamic in 2017. the following year, 2018, certified organic CCOF. And so it's really about kind of the height of best practices and trying to extract as much as we possibly can from.
So I drink biodynamically, and I'm going to check my app right now to see if.
Are we a fruit or a
Yes,
root?
we are a fruit day.
We're a fruit day. I love it.
Today is a fruit day. Thank goodness, because all the wines are drinking great.
Right, super expressive.
Very expressive, so I'm very excited.
Balancing.
How do you, I have a way to describe what biodynamic is. I mean, because there's farming, winemaking, and tasting. Biodynamic farms is common, but not common enough for people to understand. How do you tell people biodynamic vineyards? What is it that?
So no pesticides, no herbicides. We're trying to be as good a steward as we possibly can to our place. So it's about health and vitality of the soils. When we acquired the vineyard, it was farmed commercially, and the soil structures were really compacted. Very uneven sections of the vineyard. There'd be a heavy crop in one portion, in one section, and then no crop at all in others. And it was really, in the vineyard was about 17 years old, and we're trying to wrestle with, do we rip it out and replant it? And it was just a complete adoption of these practices, which was about trying to find the right cover crop, the right energetic balance around this place. And so going to these practices, it took 2 years. The first vintage was 2015 when we were farming biodynamically, and Carl and I looked at each other and said, this is the worst decision we could have ever made commercially. There was down to about a ton per acre, which even in great Pinot sections is not a good business model. And then the very next year, in 2016, all of a sudden we could see that there was vitality happening, that the vineyard was recovering because of the practices. And there is, we run sheep through the vineyard. We've got a pond on the property, so there's just more energy, more wildlife, more responsiveness from the soil.
It's pretty exciting to be in the industry and doing what we do in this day and age, because we are stewards to the land, right. And we're actually inheriting beautiful land where the farmers are, I'm going to say, tapping out, passing the baton. And what you described, taking that vineyard that was beautiful at one point and just became commercial, that you guys are taking to the next level. And it's fun to actually see the work develop in a glass, because you really get to see each vine become consistently at best together, not just a section, not just a row, but you really are developing, tilling the soil so that there is more, nutrients getting down to the roots. And it's really cool that people at a high level all over the valley are doing it. And I think we haven't even experienced it in 10 years, how beautiful,
right.
How more beautiful this place can even get.
Well, and I think we're only here for a short time, and we've it's like history is compacted into the last 5 years. We've seen everything. It seems fires and historic rains and earthquakes, and but it also reminds us that it's about trying to make it. Just make those incremental improvements wherever we possibly can. And the life of a vine in Europe, we talk about 100-year-old vines. In California,
25
in the New World, exactly. We've contracted.
Or Hollywood.
Totally. And it's just it's attention span, and we really believe that it's about resilience and persistence. And I think if there's any one thing that defines what has happened to Westwood over the last 5-10 years, it's really been about staying true to our principles and not changing that course, but just trying to incrementally improve that.
And Westwood, Brasswood is where you can come and taste here. They have other places that they do distribute. So last year we talked about, I remember sitting here and nobody had distribution because we were all shut down in a way.
Right.
But now, where can people find your wines besides online? I mean, is there any great spots that you're like, you could go to a steakhouse or a fish house and find Westwood?
So Carl lives in New York City, and so we over-index in Manhattan. We're in great restaurants and independent retail stores there.
In Manhattan?
In Manhattan.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're in, Florida has been a great market for us. Atlanta has been tremendous. North Carolina, Charlotte, Chapel Hill, Raleigh. We've got a wonderful distributor there. We're just about to open up Illinois and be in Chicago. California, obviously, throughout the state, the wines perform well in restaurants, and it's really been an important mission for Carl and I to see kind of the service industry get back on its feet and what we can do to support them. It's such an important part for all of wines at this level that are not mass produced, that can be at table and where customers can become acquainted with them.
And so out there in the Vintner Vanguard world of the tastings, what are you guys showing out? What are the people tasting today?
So we have our very first Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. We joined the party.
I got to go taste it.
It's a 2018.
He drank the Kool-Aid.
I did. We're tapping into it, right? That was our Pinot was our gateway drug, I guess.
Breaking news. Wait.
Right.
What is can someone go grab the Cabernet? I need to try this on camera.
So it's the 2018. We have been working with Silverado Farming since 2016, and they farm the Annandale Gap Vineyard, our estate property. They also have been farming for many years the Ash Vineyard in Oakville. So it's for those people who are familiar with Cardinal. Yeah. It's adjacent, immediately north, just south of the Gamble Ranch. Extraordinary property that is also farmed organically. So everything that we do is at minimum sustainably grown, and for any outside vineyards that we source from. But we really focus on organic and biodynamic, so that our practices can extend all the way through to the consumer experience. And working with Philippe and Mayan, we felt like, okay, they're onto something. This is not a trend. Cabernet is not going away.
No, it's not. And you heard it first. David Green, Cabernet is not going away.
Cabernet is not going away, and we love being able to have diversity within our own portfolio, and so jumping off that ledge into the Cabernet deep end, we wanted to play with an impeccable vineyard, and so sourcing from a great appellation in Oakville, and then.
So this is it. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! Thank you.
The Maiden Voyage.
Michelle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, cheers, man.
Cheers.
This is the debut. This is the 2018.
Wow.
You can see the color is
Like magenta, ruby, smells like Cabernet.
It smells like Cabernet, and we'll see if it pays off. One of the.
What does that mean? Oh my goodness.
It's amazing because I think this wine is really about old world, new world. And I think it's opulent for sure. It's got great texture, and I think that's a Melka kind of hallmark. But it's also really balanced too, and there's a brightness and acidity too.
So the Melka hallmark that you just mentioned, that acidity, that he, for some reasons, it reminds me of Helen Turley with the way she makes Pinot Noirs. Like, you taste it and you're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, everyone loves this. Why do they love it? But then it sits, and then you do another, and you're like, it opens up, and you're like,
right.
What? Like, how does he do that? How does he, release flavor 30 minutes after you open the bottle?
So persistence, right? I mean, I think this is a wine that's got remarkable finish. It's just, it's never ending.
Cow. Dang it. Another one to have to put on my list. So this is called Westwood. Is there a name?
Yeah, so this is Westwood Legend.
The Legend?
Yes, and so Originally, when we were trying to draw attention to our home, which is the Annandale Gap Vineyard, it was this. It's in the middle of Sonoma Valley. Again, people thought warm climate. It's not. And so the legend was really about trying to help people identify with a map, right? It was a GPS, about location. And we still very much believe in that. As being Pinot producers, it's about sight. And, being able to have, the location drive the performance of the wine. We still very much believe in that in our foray into Cabernet. But the legend was something that we wanted to be able to have a little bit of contrast in the label, something that felt like it could join the Cabernet party and start to fit in at the table amongst its big brother and elder siblings. So it's 100% Cabernet from a single vineyard, as I mentioned, Ashe, A-S-H-E, just north of Cardinal.
Yeah, I just saw a big section of it that they just replanted.
Yeah, and I think, again, we're seeing a lot of vine pulled right now, and it seems like the appropriate time. Everyone's doing their reset. It's 72 degrees outside. And
yeah, it's a good time.
Right, the third week of August. But harvest is here, and
okay. So, what is the price on this wine?
$135.
$135. That means it's going to be on the perfect spot on a wine list. This wine, I can drink this if I was to. There's not a lot of wines that can follow this and the richness but this definitely can be at the table, like you said, on a dinner party. This is delicious. Well, I am so excited that you mentioned Cabernet Sauvignon at the end, and I was able to try it because I would never have known.
Yeah, I love it, and it was. It's fun to be able to know that we have things that differentiate and stand apart. We're not competing with our brothers and sisters here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're being able to take a seat at the table, we think, because of the pedigree of our winemaking talent and the source of fruit. Gave us the confidence to.
Do you know the soil of this fruit?
So, granite and volcanic.
Granite and volcanic on the Cabernet Sauvignon.
Right. So, volcanic seems to be your theme, right?
I'm gonna have a whole. It's crazy. Granite's the first granite of the list, but this is Westwood Wines. Again, you can get it from their website. Come to Brasswood. Find it in Manhattan, New York. Seems like it's many places, restaurants there, but. This is David Green. I'm going to send him back out to the tables because there's a whole bunch of people out there drinking wine and wanting to more about this. And lastly, before we go, you have a reputation of explaining and launching brands at a way that you cut to the chase and get to the consumer. How did that happen? What do you say? How did you find that niche in the wine world?
I think I come at it from having to present in front of a table. I come from hospitality, and so that was really my entry into wine. I worked in restaurants and hotels in LA and New York, and then in Aspen, and then got bit by the wine bug. Went to work for the Chalone Group, and then have made a journey through great producers and worked with incredible winemakers, including Philippe. Going back to Donna Estate when we launched that brand in the early 2000s, and then reuniting with him at Westwood in 2017. And so what we know about this valley and our industry is it's tiny. Everyone's interconnected. But to me, it's always been about two things, really. It's about story and place, and really trying to amplify each aspect of that and having to connect that to the consumer. It's not enough that we make great wine that kind of gets us to the table, and that's the ante. Everyone here makes incredible wine. I mean, this is definitely the top 1%. But to be really in the conversation, you've got to differentiate and stand out. And I think simplifying that for the consumer is the most important thing. And I hope I've been able to.
Well, I think you have. I
paint
think
that.
anybody that you get to help get there is happy with the results. So cheers to you.
Cheers, man.
Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of the day.
Congrats with everything Brasswood.
Oh, thank you.